are now happy to be joined with a friend of the show. I've actually met this guy before. Congressman Tim Ryan of Ohio is running for president. Congressman, nice to see you.
Great to be with you.
A lot of folks that are watching this don't know, you grew up in the same town as the UK football coach Mark Stoops. He knows you. Two famous people who were all Youngstown boys.
That's good luck. We're going all the way, man. I'm going to be watching the UK games from the box with the cigar, watching my man.
Tell folks, I always like to ask as a first question, what made you decide to run for president in 2020?
Growing up in an area that's been forgotten, and the people have been forgotten, and no one's had a big vision for areas like Youngstown, Ohio in a long time. We're struggling to come back, and there's a lot of communities, more communities in America like that than not. And so I'm getting in this race for all those people and communities that have been forgotten, and we're going to turn this country around for the working class.
You know, there's a lot of places in Kentucky that are similar to Youngstown, Ohio. Working class places in Kentucky, it's because of coal, and Youngstown, it may be steel and other things, though where the industry dries up and people are left, you know, with not a lot to do. How do you fix that in places like we have in Eastern Kentucky?
Well, you start by not having a system that caters to the elites, to the top 1%. They've been doing well. And they've had a very good 30 or 40 year run. I mean, you take 30 years ago or more, the average CEO in America was making 30 times as much as the worker on the factory floor or in the coal mine. Today, it's 300 times as much as the worker. So they basically destroyed the collective organizing power of the working class. And now the top 1% own about 90% of the wealth. So we've got to break up that monopoly of sorts. And it's a monopoly in agriculture. It's a monopoly in global business. You know, if you got a lot of stock in a company, you do really well. And if you're on the factory floor, you don't get a raise.
Well, the area where you're from, the district you represent, is interesting because it was a Democratic district for a long time, voted for Bill Clinton, Obama, and then it's an area where Donald Trump has picked up a lot of steam in the last few years, and Republicans have. Why do you think that is, and how do you get those folks kind of back to voting for the policies you're talking about?
Well, they felt forgotten by both political parties, and Trump was running not as a Republican, but really as an independent. That's how he was seen. He was critical of NAFTA, critical of these trade deals that have decimated these communities. And Hillary Clinton was tiptoeing around TPP. She was, Bill Clinton passed NAFTA. So that line of attack, where we had a General Motors factory that went from 16,000 people, now workers, now it's empty. And Trump went in and he made that argument to the forgotten person. Now, he hasn't done anything to fix it. In many ways, he's made matters worse. But the reality of it is that's how he won. And that's why, and those are the issues that I talk about, which is why I get 60-some% of the vote in those districts. And Trump won 3 of the 5 counties that I represent.
Okay, so I agree with everything you said, and I agree with you that Democrats have forgotten that.
Let's end this interview right now.
Well, no, I mean, you're speaking my language, but here's the hard part. 2 questions. Number one, I still sense from a lot of those folks that even though Trump's done nothing for them, they still support him. Do you agree, and why? And second, what do you do about it? Some of what I wonder is are some of those jobs just gone? Do you think they can come back?
I don't agree with it totally. I think there's a lot of movement now. I think the New York Times article talked about, those people hanging with Trump. I don't think that's necessarily the case. There has been some movement, but Democrats have to put up someone from a place like that. We can't put up as our nominee someone who is perceived to be out of touch with what those people are going through. Those are my people. I know them. Those are my family members. Those are my friends that are having to leave that General Motors facility in Youngstown and move somewhere. I know them. I was at the Union Hall the day after they closed. I was in tears with them. They were in tears. This is very personal to me, and I think nominating someone from an area like that gives us an advantage. And I think we get it back. Here's where Trump's missing the boat. He's going back to an old way of doing things, just the tariffs. Well, I think we need to slap some tariffs on China because they do cheat. We need an industrial policy in the United States. That's how you win this thing. And it's got to be driven out of the White House. That's how you get those jobs back. And then you make sure that that growth goes into these communities, old coal, old steel, old rubber, old auto, communities of color that have been left behind. That's where the growth in those new industries need to go. And you got to drive that out of 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue or it ain't getting done.
I'm totally with you, but I have a question. And this is almost a question for you to pump me up. Are you and I relics of a Democratic Party that's gone away?
Hey, don't call it a comeback. We've been here all along. You know, we're all, you know, we're New Deal Democrats. We're Franklin Roosevelt Democrats. Here's the direction we have to go in. The government has been under assault for 40 years, and it's been a strategy by those wealthy people who used to make 30 times the person on the factory floor now makes 300 times the worker on the factory floor. They completely disintegrated the role of government. Look, you and I can't achieve this on our own, so we come together through collective action, like Franklin Delano Roosevelt did, you know, like we did through the New Deal, where average people came together and we said, this sucks. We're getting killed. The top 1%'s making all the money, and we can barely make ends meet. It was farmers, it was immigrants, it was white working class, it was African Americans, all coming together saying, we're all getting screwed here.
Tim Ryan, you got me motivated. I'm ready to go up and start a movement. Thank you very much. For people who want to learn more about your campaign, how can they find out?
TimRyanForAmerica.com. I need some help getting on the debate stage. If you think that this is the kind of Democratic message we need, go to TimRyanForAmerica.com. Give me $5, give me $10. Help me get on that debate stage, and you're going to hear this message from a bullhorn on the Democratic debate stage end of June.
TimRyanForAmerica.com. Thank you very much. Another in our series of presidential candidates. Good luck to you.